Hi, grade 7. This is your math lesson 4. Lesson 3-2, which is talking about estimating square roots, which is on 120 to 122. 120 to 122. Let's get right to some problems. If somebody said to you, what's the square root of 9? That's pretty easy, isn't it? Hopefully by now. Square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 49 is 7, right? We know all those, hopefully. But what if somebody starts picking a number that's in between these perfect square numbers of 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100? For example, what if somebody said to you, hey, what is the square root of 34? And I don't want the exact answer because that's going to be blah, 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 point, blah, 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 if you punch it out on a calculator, but we don't want to do that. We want to figure out a way to estimate square roots. Well, here's how I do it in my mind. I know that the square root of 25 is 5. And I know that the square root of 36 is 6. So the question is this 34 closer to 25 or is this closer to 36? Well, hopefully you recognize that the distance between these two is 9 and the distance between these two is 2. So I'm going to say that the square root of 34 to the nearest integer or the nearest whole number is 6. Let's do another one. What if somebody said to you, what is the square root of 69 rather, estimated to the nearest whole number? Estimated to the nearest whole number. Let's bring this in a little bit. There we go. Okay, well, what do I know? I know that the square root of 64 is 8. I know that the square root of 81 is 9. These two numbers are 5 away from each other. These two numbers are 12 away from each other. So the estimated square root of 69 must be closest to 8. Second problem, done. Let's try it with, say, the square root of 77. Can you see that down there? Yeah, I think you can. Square root of 77. Well, again, I know that the square root of 64 is 8. I know that the square root of 81 is 9. I know that this is 13 away from each other, and I know that these numbers are 4 away from each other. So I would say that the closest number, the closest whole number to the square root of 77 is 9, because this is closer than this. Another problem done. Let's try another one. How about the square root of 70? No, we did that one already. Goodness, how silly of me. Let's try something a little bigger. 171. 171. Well, in my mind, I know that the square root of 169 is 13. And I know that the square root of 196 is 14. And which one is 171 closest to? It's 2 away from this one. And to this one, it's 25 away. So I'm going to say that the best estimate of the square root of 171 is 13. How about a bigger number, like the square root of 578? The square root of 578. This one's going to be a little tougher. A little tougher. Why? Because in my brain, I don't have in my head the square root of a lot of big numbers like that. So I might start by saying to myself, hey, I wonder if it would be helpful if I wrote down some perfect squares. For example, 20 times 20 is 400. Do I know what 21 times 21 is? No, I don't. So I'm going to do the math. Let's see what we get. I get 441. What's 22 times 22? I don't know. I don't know. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 0. Oh, it's 484. So we're getting close to that 578, but we're not there yet. What's 23 times, oh, by the way, I do know what 25 times 25 is. That one I've got memorized. That's 625. I still maybe need to figure out these before I can solve that problem. What's 23 times 23? Well, 9, 6, 0, 6, 4, 9, 2, 5, it's 529. How about 24 times 24? Don't know what that is. 16, 9, 0, 8, 4, 6, 7, 5. Oh, that's 576. I think I got enough to solve this. I know, based on what I see here, that the square root of 576 has to be 24. And I know that the square root of 625 has to be 25. Which one of these is it closest to? Well, it's only 2 away from this. It's a whole bunch away from that. 25 and 22, it's 47 away. So what's the best estimated whole number? Square root of 578. Well, that'd be the number 24, wouldn't it? Now, some of you are probably wondering, hey, Mr. Ponko, why can't I just use a calculator on this? Let me grab a calculator for a second. I'll be back shortly. If I type into this calculator 578 square root, do you see what we get there? We get the number 24.04163, and we came up with that answer of 24. And what's the closest whole number to 24.04163? Well, it's 24, isn't it? Isn't it much faster to do it this way, Mr. Ponko? You bet it is. But it's not always about getting the answer fast. Sometimes it's about practicing a process. So, what will I allow you to use your calculators for tomorrow? Well, let me show you. Let's say you had a problem like, I don't know, the square root of 1,230. Sorry, I don't want you touching the square root button. But I will let you do something like this. I will let you say to yourself, hey, I wonder what 30 times 30 is. Let's see, 30 times 30 is 900. So I'm going to write that down. I wonder what 40 times 40 is. Oh, that's 1,600. 40 times 40. So we're somewhere in between those two. What about 35 times 35? That's 1225. 35 times 35 equals 1225. Ooh, that's getting close. So if I want to find the square root of 1230, I bet that the answer is somewhere between this 35 value, because 35 is the square root of 1,225, because 35 times 35 equals it. I wonder what 36 times 36 equals. 36 times 36 equals 1296. So I'm going to write that down over here, 1296, and the square root of that is 36. So is this closer to that, or is it closer to that? Well, it's 5 away from here to here. From here to here, it's 66 away. So I think the closest answer is to say that the square root of 1,230 is 35. That's the closest estimation. That's the kind of thing I would say I'd let you use the calculators for. But no, I don't want you just punching in the square root button because you're not learning anything there and you're not practicing math skills with that. Okay, let's try another one. This next problem might seem hard, but it's really not as hard as you think. What if somebody wrote on the board the square root of 11.5? You might be panicking, but it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I know the square root of 9 is 3, and I know that the square root of 16 is 4. This answer must be somewhere between 3 and 4. Is it closest to 9 or closest to 16? I think it's closer to 9, so my answer is going to be 3. No big deal. Okay. What about something like 84.35, and we're finding the square root of that? What's the closest whole number to that? Well, in my mind, I'm thinking about the square root of 81 and the square root of 100. This has an answer of 9. This has an answer of 10. This number is closer to 81 than it is to 100. So I'm going to say that my estimated square root of 84.35 is 9. Okay, we're going to stop at this point. Thank you.